Hello, welcome to December's Astrology and Tarot forecast. And we are going to get into all of the happenings this month. And I can't believe we're at the last month of the year. This year has flown by. It's been crazy. I've been just thinking about how this year felt like it was in two parts for me because I was planning a wedding, then I got married, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, like the second half was so different. So it's interesting, but we got through the most chaotic, stressful year probably of our lives. And I think we're gonna see what comes, next year. I'm kind of thinking about doing like a little kind of 2026 year ahead overview of the astrology of the tarot energy. That's going to probably come in January, but I'm kind of like trying to figure out how I want to do that. But I feel that the next couple years are going to be really, really spicy. It's going to be really, really intense with the astrology. We got a little bit of a tidbit of it this year for a couple months, but 2026 is when a lot of the planets that have been moving this year get really settled into their signs. Right now, we do have quite a few planets still retrograde. Mercury went direct recently, as well as Saturn. So those two are like in the clear right now. I mean, there's still like the kind of pre-shadow period that they need to work through, but I think it's kind of yeah, things are kind of moving forward a little bit. The Saturn retrograde was really crazy for me. I'm going to post on my Substack a breakdown of what happened to me last week with the Saturn retrograde hitting my chart, and it's just been a wild time with Saturn. But that's going to be for paid subscribers on my Substack. It's like some really juicy tea. So make sure that you're subscribing, and if you feel called to be a paid subscriber, it's only $6 a month. So. Yeah, that helps me, continue writing and, supporting my work. So, we're just going to kind of jump right into it. And as always, if you are on my Substack, I do have a list of all the transits, the main ones and the mundane. For the forecast, I just focus on the major transit. So we're just going to start like right off with this full moon in Gemini. So it's going to be on December 4th, and I have the chart here. This is also happening at 6:14 p.m. if you're on the East Coast, like I am. This moon's going to be at 13 degrees in 3 minutes of Gemini in the 12th house, which is really interesting. I feel this is going to be the last time we're going to have Uranus in Taurus. So it's going to be, kind of a little chaos coming once we have Uranus in Gemini, and it's going to be meeting up with these moons, the new and full moons in Gemini next year. So, I feel like with this energy, and of course, I always do like a lunar breakdown, so that's going to be coming next week with the Sabian symbols and just more highlights there. But, I kind of feel like this is a lot of processing. It's a lot of like, being with your own psyche and really kind of thinking about all that has transpired this past year. It's very like lonerism with the moon in the 12th house here. It's also directly opposing the sun in Sagittarius at 13 degrees and 3 minutes. So I think this is, kind of a moment for a lot of self-reflection, a lot of, maybe thinking about what you want to tie up, like any loose ends you want to tie up before the year closes. Also, if you're, you know, trying to just like do some therapy or just doing like a lot of inner work, I think it's a really good time for that. And I feel, it's the last month of the year and it's a little, crazy with holiday season energy, but I think it's also time for yourself. And maybe next week can be a time where you can come back down to earth, just, spend time with your own mind, or maybe like a good fantasy book, or, writing some poetry, listening to music. Like I think it's a good time to like wind down with this energy and just think about, your role. Like what was your pursuits in 2025, and what maybe do you want to do better, or what you want to do differently moving into 2026? What's also interesting is that the moon's also squaring the south node and the north node. So, there's something here when it comes to like authority. There's something here when it comes to family. It's been a very emotional time for my clients. Um, Literally every single client of mine has either been like this past week has either been crying during readings or have one in mediumship. And I'm not surprised if where the nodes are in, squaring this moon, that there is this call to really think about the past as well as, it could be the past, like the collective past, like how did we get here? What do we do, about this authoritarian regime? But it's also about like the family and like the hierarchy and the ancestry. And I think a lot of us are feeling, closer to the veil. Like the veil is very thin at this time of the year, especially when it comes to holidays, because you're flooded with memories of your loved ones and the way things once were and how holiday season once was. And I think that's something that's coming up for a lot of people is the past, and mostly the past with family and you know authoritarian figures within the family, like the matriarchal grandmother, or the grandfather that dictated the home. Like there's a lot coming up, and it's very much like to the surface. And it's interesting because like the moon is in the 12th house, which is very hidden, which is very much behind closed doors. But it's also, we have the node in the 10th house, which is bringing things to the surface and, not always staying private with what it is that you're feeling or, you're experiencing. Excuse me, especially with paranormal experiences. Um, we still have, this Neptune and Saturn conjunct, and it's yeah, it's been not that great. These two traveling together in Pisces has not been that great of a time. But we'll kind of see too, like I just think there can be a lot of like collective despair and grief and carnage with this. Also with squaring the Chiron here, like there's a lot of like collective healing and wounding, but it's like, how can you heal when you're being oppressed? And, it's just, there's a lot, even too with the trine with Jupiter and Cancer here, with all this Pisces energy with Saturn and Neptune. There is also that feeling as well that, there's something when it comes to like our values, and we have to rewrite our own personal values or like contemplate what our values are and if those still, reflect who we are moving into 2026, or we have to, dissolve some values. And then I also feel as well, there are collective values that there's like internal values that we need to think about, and there's also collective values that we need to think about. And there's a lot of ties to money, and I feel like there's this like oligarchy, very like power hungry, money driven, capitalistic energy that is just very suppressive and feels like you're chained to it. And yeah, excuse me, I have a little tickle in my throat. Um, I've been thinking about that a lot as a small business, and with taxes and things like that. I know tax season is only, um, a couple months away, but it's just the thought of it. It's like, okay, like all the sales that I make for my, Black Friday sale or my Cyber Monday sale, unfortunately has to be put aside for taxes. And then it's like this morning I was like, why are we paying taxes? Because we're just giving them money and they're not giving us anything back. So, we'll kind of see what happens once these planets get more into their signs, when they go direct again. So we're gonna have next year, Saturn officially in Aries for the next 3 years. That's going to be in February. In January, we're going to have Neptune moving back into Aries officially, for the next like 12, 14 years. And then we're going to have Uranus moving into Gemini for the next 8 years. So, that's going to all be happening in the beginning of 2026. So I kind of think, by the time tax season comes, let's see what happens. Um, yeah, no taxation without representation. And the last thing I just want to talk about here is Jupiter squaring the Mars. And I kind of feel, again, there's something here with our money, there's something here with our values, there's something here with our health and, how we're showing up routine wise. And maybe there's a little bit of laziness too. But also, I kind of think there's just this feeling of like, there could be a feeling of apathy. Um, and I feel like we need to really abolish that. Like we can't like have apathy keep us settled into our ways. I think it also a little bit of this could be, just being a little bit more financially minded too. I know the propaganda is like this is, a great Black Friday sale, but no one's really was shopping. Big business stores and things like that. Really shop small, stay within your communities, support small businesses like yours truly. And yeah, I know. I feel like that's a way that we can take power and control back, especially with these placements in the houses with these planets, is through our money. I'm going to jump around and just go towards the new moon here. I don't want to keep this too long because I'm kind of excited to move on to the tarot for the month because um that's when I can use my new deck that I got. So I'm going to make an unboxing video of this deck here. But I have Manny P. Hall's tarot deck. It was originally published in 1929 and it got reissued. Um, and I'm excited. I'm really, really excited to use it. So this is it. It's really tiny, but I'm going to pull from this deck. I just got it yesterday. I haven't even looked at all the cards. So I was just like, we're going to use it today. Um, but I'm just going to, yeah, before we get into those, sorry, I'm like kind of jumping around. Before we get into the full moon chart, just, there's not so much transits this year. There's not a lot of transits this month, sorry, in December. On the 10th, we have Neptune going direct again in Pisces. We have Mercury moving into Sagittarius on the 11th. On the 15th, we have Mars moving into Capricorn. And then on the 19th, we have the full moon in the new moon, I'm sorry, in Sagittarius. And that is at 8:43 p.m. And ooh, look at that kite formation. That's a major kite. And that's going to be at 28 degrees in 24 minutes. So, interesting. December 19th. Oh, sorry. I'm like, wait, that doesn't make sense. I'm my bad. I'm in November. I gotta get to December. Okay, there we go. Okay, here we go. So sorry, that kite went away. All right, so where's our moon here? Yeah, so conjuncting the sun, and the last degrees of Sagittarius here in our fifth house. Fifth house is yeah, there's a lot going on. We see that Mars is freshly in Capricorn at 3 degrees and 35 minutes. Uranus is direct, sorry, Neptune is direct again. Last degree of Neptune, oh my God. Brace yourself. Um, so yeah, what's going on at this moon too is that it's squaring um Neptune, it's squaring Saturn here. And it is actually conjunct to Juno here. So, Juno is like the goddess of marriage and, it's very like lovey in the fifth house. And, I think this is a time where you're really feeling the Christmas, celebrations if you know, celebrate Christmas. It seems like a very festive holiday time here, honestly. We do have like kind of a loose conjunction with depending on the degrees that you use. here. Not conjunction, I'm sorry, square with Jupiter. You know, in that 12th house. But I do think this is a time where it feels very lively. It feels like there's a lot going on. It can be a little chaotic. It does also give this impression that there's just a lot there. Maybe there's a little bit more of just like focusing on yourself, a little bit of I got to, get all these things done for, my family, for my children. Making sure like the children have a good Christmas. Like there's a lot in this fifth house. Thinking about the outfit you're going to wear for Christmas Day, how you're going to express yourself. Like there's that type of feeling, that type of vibe. There's just so much happening. Even with Venus and Mercury in that fifth house too. But I think also it's just really showing up for the people in your life, really wanting to just have a good like holiday season. That's just what I'm really getting the sense. There's a lot of effort and energy put into being, mindful about family and wanting your family to just have a good holiday season or like your loved ones. It just feels that way. Look at the Sabian symbols as things get closer. There's quite a bit of squares. There's some friction. I think there's a little bit of humbling. I think out of like all the holiday seasons, especially like the Thanksgiving and Christmas, it is a lot of just gratitude, having a lot of gratitude for what you have. Because, money is tight here. And I think a lot of, Christmases are looking a little bit smaller or, just having gratitude that you still have your parents, at the table. Because a lot of people had unnecessarily their parents taken by ice. And it's just having the gratitude for like the things sometimes you take for granted and like, health, especially, money, food on the table, gifts to give your family, even if it's just one gift. Or it's not even doing gifts. It's just, spending time, quality time together. I think it's the humbling energy. I'm getting a sense at this moon. It's humbling, but it's also, there's a lot going on. It's a little wild, like it's a little chaotic. There's also this need to give a lot of like love to those in your life, um, and to yourself. Before we close out, I just don't want to make this too long. Before we close this out, we do have on Christmas Eve, we have Venus entering Capricorn, and then on December 29th, we have Juno entering Capricorn. So we have a lot of Capricorn energy coming in. Um, And yeah, I'm kind of just curious. I want to just go to the chart here. I'm just gonna put, I don't know, just put like 11:30 p.m. right before New Year's, kind of what do we have going on? We have Jupiter in the 10th house here. You know, I I think this is, yeah, there's something here of family. There's a lot going on of family here. And I really just think a lot of it is expressing gratitude for family and what you have. And it feels like there's this intimacy with the holidays this season. It's not materialistic as much. It's not as you know, there's no feeling of like I got to up my game or I have to make, I have to have the biggest um like decorations on the block. Like there's not really this like grandiose like show off type of energy. It does feel like it's more humble. And that's just what I'm getting. There's something here with like family and just really trying to embrace family and, thinking about how you can show up in support of your family and spending more time with your family moving into 2026 and prioritizing family and your home. I think a lot of people are going to be staying in their home to celebrate. And maybe it just feels kind of somber. It doesn't feel like so much to celebrate because we've seen kind of what this year's become. And there's a lot of battles ahead we have to fight in the new year. But I think like the real win, the real, I guess like the real gift is, who you have in your home, your loved ones, and the people who are there for you. It's watch like your health. hopefully there's not like a huge winter storm. We're kind of having one right now in the Midwest. But yeah, watch your health because there can be like some sickness or illness with the nodes in the 6th and 12th house and also Saturn, its little ass in the sixth houses and Neptune going in there too. So, let's just kind of watch our health here. But anyways, so that is the astrology. I know that was short but sweet. I didn't want to spend too much time because I felt like last video was like a little bit longer. Um, but I am going to be breaking down every 2 weeks. I do new and full moon posts where I break down all the astrology, all the symbols, and then yeah, look out for more cool posts from me the next couple weeks. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. So let's pull some tarot cards. I'm in a new room today. So this is my office slash library, my other one. So I have pictures of it on my Instagram. It's really cool. This is going to turn into like a gallery wall. So I have like some really cool art that I'm going to be framing and putting up and just a lot of really amazing things. So kind of stay tuned for like that process. But I do have pictures of this space on my Instagram. So I might do a Substack post. I was supposed to. I just haven't had time yet to kind of show it off a little bit. So we're gonna pull some cards. And I just want to kind of start with a main energy here. I will show pictures of all the cards of the spread on my Substack. So look forward to that. Okay, main energy for December 2025. We did it, Joe. We did it. We got here. Oh my gosh, it's been a freaking journey. Okay. This card's been coming up a lot, and that is the Ten of Wands. So I have it reversed. And then I also have this Oracle card of Vision here. So I think this is a really good, like kind of more optimistic perspective, looking towards the horizons, not being defeated energetically, holding your vision for the future, holding your vision for what you want 2026 to be and like your goals. And I think that's something maybe you can try to reflect on in December, like, having a good idea of what you're trying to move forward into in 2026. Um, I think as well, it just feels like there's like this warrior strength. Like you haven't been defeated. You're not exhausted. You're able to persevere and push that vision forward. And that's what the new vision needs. The new vision needs your perseverance. Your new vision needs energy, and you have to hold it in place to make it manifest and to come through. And I think that is a good reminder. If you want something to come to pass, you not only have to believe in it, but you have to have consistency. You have to hold it in place. You have to be accountable for the new visions that are, coming into your life and what you kind of need to progress towards the desires you have to progress towards. Okay. I have some majors coming in. So we have our Death upright, our Five of Swords upright, and then we have our Wheel of Fortune reversed. So, let's see what this is. There is something that is trying to close. There's a cycle that's trying to close. I mean, it's December. So there is, Yule is coming in too in the next couple weeks. So, this is kind of an opportunity to think about really how you want to tie up loose ends. What is dying? What is decaying? What do you need to release? What do you need to let go of? What's the funeral that you need to have? Like bury it, have the funeral and move on. If you want to visit the grave, that is like your own discretion. But I feel that this death card is really saying like there is an end to something. And maybe that is where this vision could thrive because something has ended internally or like, in your own world, or maybe something collective has died, or maybe someone has passed away. Um, in your life or or collectively that has caused a lot of friction or strife, or I just think there's something here connected to this death. Like it's not easy to move on from something ending. Sometimes we don't want things to end. Sometimes we just want to live in our like idealistic worlds. This energy is kind of reminding me of the fantasy series I'm reading, which is Iron Flame, that fantasy series. I'm on the last book right now. And it just kind of feels like when you're reading the book, it's amazing, but it's like there's always something. There's always a battle. There's always like something going on, like every other chapter, a new challenge, a new, whatever. And I kind of get a sense like it feels like that. I mean, maybe that's just the wheel of life. It's like there's always something. There's always a battle. There's always, you know, this energy that you can't be defeated. And one of the mantras that Violet, the main character, says like all the time in the book is "I will not die today." And I've been thinking about that for my own life. Like sometimes I say like "I will not die today" when I'm driving, on the road. But I kind of feel like this is that type of energy. It's like, you're persevering, you're pushing on, keep on keeping on. It kind of feels like that. And it's just kind of, we got to get this wheel to turn, but we have to have like a something like mentally has to change, has to die. We have to let go of it. And what that is, maybe there's something that within your own life that you're trying to end, but it's going to be hard. You know that there's another battle like outside of that battle. Like you end something and there's something else that you got to like, you know, accomplish, or you have to, put energy and time towards that isn't necessarily, positive or fulfilling, but it's like it hasn't ended. And it is kind of like, characters in a fantasy movie, or or books, like I'm thinking now Harry Potter with like Voldemort. It's like there's always something until Voldemort is defeated. And I kind of feel like that's the vibe for us. Like there's always something that we have to do, that we have to stay alert. We have to, we can't just tune out things that aren't working in our life, because it's going to catch up to us. And I feel like eventually we will be able to defeat it. It will end. But in the meantime, we have to stay in the fight. We have to stay in the battle and persevere, not lose our energy, look towards the horizons, hold that vision of a new world, and understand when there's opportunity coming to create that new world. And that's, I think, this Wheel of Fortune reversed. It's like we're like no longer on top of the wheel. I think this is definitely speaking as a country. We're seeing the faults of this country, and you have to go down and come back up and do things better. And I think the wheel has been on the ground right now. Like we're down on our luck a little bit. Also, this is like financial energy. So there's something here financially about just a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. It's like, can I move forward? Is this going to, you know, help me in my future? Like there's just, or is there a future for me that now that I have like this financial burden? Like, there's a lot. I think that everyone's collectively facing, financially, as well as, even with, I was saying too, like your values, like thinking about like what your values are and how, either your values are helping you progress or they're keeping you behind and stuck in the mud. But I just think that there's something ending so that this new vision can thrive. But we have to hold true to that vision and just prepare for the next battle, prepare for the next horrible thing that comes. And then we also need to understand that, like, we have come down from being on top, and we can't, falsify that. We have to sit in that reality. I'm gonna pull some cards with this deck here. A lot of majors in this spread. Yeah, interesting. All right, so I have the duality of the Wheel of Fortune. So I have it upright and I have it reversed. So it depends on how you look at things too. Maybe this is good that we're kind of seeing the reckoning of this country and the shadow side. Maybe this is good so that we're aware and we can do something about it. And that awareness too is very much Aries energy. Like we're moving into a lot of fire and air. So there is this feeling of doing something about it, about issues or problems. Like there's definitely going to be more kind of assertion of energy. But I do have this justice card reversed here. So it's thinking about people in our lives, relationships that we have, which ones are changing, which ones, are shifting, which ones are secure and stable. Do you have support systems around you? Are these people supportive? Is it worth your time and energy to maintain certain relationships that aren't really giving you anything in your life? That's something you have to kind of contemplate. I think that's a big thing, this holiday season too. It's just reflecting on who you want to spend your time around and like those relationships you want to move forward into 2026. I also have a feeling too, like, is it worth your time and energy to deplete yourself around people who are not in alignment with you, who are not positive influences? Maybe it's time to choose yourself, don't burn out, trying to be around people who are just either in a different reality or just not really giving you anything that you want to, cherish and value into 2026. So there might be a lot of, energy shifting here with relationships and just kind of thinking about the progression of relationships in your life. I also feel like collectively too, this is kind of a sense of, sometimes we need the opposite in our lives. Um, we need the equal but opposite reaction to, push us, and we need the mirror. And I have like clients tell me all the time, like, why was this person in my life? What was the lesson? And I'm like, sometimes we need people who are not like us to kind of like confirm who we are, to show us who we are and how we're able to persevere and stick to our visions in life when we're around people who are doing the exact opposite. And that is, I think, a vital lesson here coming in, especially with this holiday season. I also think, too, sometimes we need, demonic evil people to wake us up, to show us, the reality. And, we can't be too idealistic or in our own bubble to think that evil does not exist around us, and it does. And I think we've been really able to see that shadow has been brought up with Saturn and Pisces and Neptune and Pisces at the last degrees this year. We've seen like the shadow emerge, and I think there's just a lot of awareness. I'm getting that there's a big sense of awareness here. And that awareness is vital for our future, for us to build better, do things better. We have to demolish and deconstruct the villains, but we need to, know who they are. And by knowing who they are, we can't just be blind to the vile deeds that they're doing. And I think that's something that we recognize. And sometimes it's a gift. Sometimes it's a gift. It might not feel like a gift, but sometimes it's a gift to see the truth in people, to see the wickedness, to see the evil, so that you're not um, under an illusion. And I really think like the illusion is breaking. And this is like collective too, but I also think in your own life, really seeing the truth of people's character and if that's what you want to be surrounded by. But I think like if you do choose yourself, if you choose your vision, you choose your values and it's authentic to you, and that means sacrificing relationships and people who just don't who no longer hold that center, like that is an opportunity for you to succeed. Like you can't bring everyone with you. on a new path, on a new journey in your life. You're going to have to leave some people behind. And I think this is a good reflection of, who are you going to be leaving behind in 2025? Who no longer deserve space in your world. And, when we set boundaries, when we, close a chapter, when we make an ending, it's not going to be met with rainbows and butterflies. There's going to be some friction. There's going to be some animosity. There's going to be some words said. And you still have to stay true to your beliefs. You still have to stay true to yourself. Okay, I'm gonna pull some cards from this new deck. Okay. All right. So, I'm sorry. I have a little tickle in my throat. I have here the Queen of Swords. And then I have here this is the Empress, I believe. No, I'm sorry. This is the High Priestess. High Priestess, yeah. No, this is the Empress. Actually, I can't read French. I'm sorry. I'm like, I think this is the Empress. Yeah, this is the Empress here. I don't really have, this is the first time I'm using this deck, so I'm like, I don't really know, but because the cards are different than what they are in a traditional deck, so they're a little different. So this is it's very much like standing in your conviction here. It's, kind of what I was saying, like choosing yourself and, staying strong to your pursuits, like mental pursuits, verbal pursuits, beliefs. I think this is a really good kind of omen for you to really channel that self-belief. I think as well, not being afraid to communicate and express your needs to yourself and to others. And that is also going to be a way for you to recognize what relationships stay in your life and you push forward, you give energy and love to into 2026, and which ones that you leave behind if they do not comprehend or listen or value what it is that you're telling them. And you deserve to have support, you deserve to have your needs met. And just the one thing you have to remember is no one's a mind reader. They can't read your mind. That's why you have to communicate and verbalize. And just know that when you stand up for yourself, when you vocalize what it is that you need, not everyone is going to be happy about it. And they're going to find a way to, attack you or question you or have you reconsider something. And it's like, no, like I came, I saw, this is my needs, this is what, my values are. And if they're not met, then I'm no longer going to continue, being under your power, being under your spell. And I think that's something collective that we're doing, in this country and around the world too, but we are standing up for ourselves. And that is something very much, Sagittarian, like the philosophy, thinking things through in a new way and like kind of going off in uncharted waters. And then Capricorn is kind of stabilizing some of those beliefs. And I think there's this stabilization of like this new kind of power rising. On different spectrums, of course, and many spectrums, but I definitely get a sense that you can't fear the repercussions of standing up to your truth, standing up for your truth. You can't fear those repercussions because you have to continue to fight for what you believe in. And that is, I'm thinking about Martin Luther King here. I had a dream speech, but even before that, like everything that he advocated for in the marches, and there was so much that he had to fight for to hold that vision. And he couldn't be exhausted when holding that vision. But there was always going to be, a backlash. Like he was on the FBI like most wanted list, and at one point. And unfortunately, yes, it kind of led to the death. But at the end of the day, there was this new vision that he created. And we have to hold that. So that could be like a more literal way, of kind of like reading this spread. But I just think a lot of this is, don't let difficulty or other people overpower you. You really have it within yourself to push forward and to persevere. I'll put one more card here. Okay. I'm going to read a little bit about this. I have this black card, a little depressing, but it's called Bardo, and it has Pluto here. It also has the skeleton system, mushrooms. Let's see what this means. This is from Color Vision Oracle by New Moon Apothecary. It's probably one of the coolest decks I own. So this has to do with death. So we have the death card. We have our death card here. We have this Bardo. Death, liminal space, pause, rebirth. Um, it has with the symbolic connection, it has some fungus here, mushrooms, and the master of decomposers. They transform material from one state to another, and in this way, they are the rulers of the liminal. Um, so, this is literally the material for new beginnings as well. So life, death, and rebirth. And we have Pluto, the eighth house. This is death, also in a major transformation in phases of our life. And the skeletal system is the structures of our physical body. And it takes 20 years for our body to decompose completely. But the skeletal system is the one that remains. And a lot of this is, resting, meditation, being this is a state of being for the soul between death and rebirth. It's like limbo or purgatory. And it kind of feels like that. This is kind of reminding me of Yule, Yule in bulk, which is coming in February, like winter, like we're in this process of death, and it's cold and nothing's really growing, and it does feel like a purgatory, a limbo, and maybe this whole year has kind of felt like that in some regard. And I think a lot of us are like, well, when are things going to get better? When are things going to change? When is someone going to do something about it? It's like we all have a role to play in the revolution. We all have to do something about it. But I do think what we can do in this liminal space is protect ourselves, is really hold the vision when it feels like it's dark, when it feels like we're not really moving forward. We have to vocalize our needs to the people around us, as well as collectively what we need, so that we can hold truth to power. And I think when it comes to the death, like don't fear death, don't fear things that are ending, because there's a rebirth, there's, beautiful fortune around the corner. We just have to look at it this way. We have to look at something ending as something positive and good for us to push us further into our destiny. But don't be afraid of what is trying to leave your life. If it's something physical, if it's something, metaphorical, internal, whatever it is, like let it leave so that you can focus on this rebirth. But don't also be afraid of the repercussions of the healing process, of the backlash of choosing yourself, so that you can, connect deeper to your vision in this life. So that is the reading for December. A lot to think about, a lot to process. Thank you so much for, subscribing to my channel, to my Substack. If you do want a personal reading with me, right now I have 30% off all my reading services on my website. And I'm also offering year ahead readings for 2026. I have astrology, tarot, and pagan readings. All of that is 30% off as well. And yes, it's been a pleasure to create these videos for you this year. Look forward to some of my lunar posts I'm going to be having within the next week. And yeah, it's been a wild year. It's been a wild year. But I'm so honored and blessed to have this little community. And I will see you in the new year. Bye.